I wanted to make just a regular old standard commentary. We're not looking at any articles. We're not looking at any extra things. We're just gonna, talk about the game from yesterday. Because one of the big things that I got out of the game was the Vancouver Canucks' crazy ability to penalty kill against the Edmonton Oilers in, of course, we're talking about Game 5, if we haven't said that already. I honestly wanted to make this video because, the post-game video that we do, I usually press record on that video either right when the game ends or shortly after, when we see Ken Reed and Ivanka Osmak on the broadcast doing the recap with the highlights. That's another time when I'll sit down and start recording the post-game video. I sometimes like to stick around for the Elliot Friedman, Ron McLean post-game conversation because they usually have some interesting points to talk about. But because I record the post-game video usually right after the game, I don't normally see much of the post-game press conferences. Those happen later, and it takes a while for us to get that video footage and see the tweets and eventually, get the information. But I'm making this video because of one JT Miller's post-game press conference, and an idea that he tossed out there that really allowed the Canucks to succeed in yesterday's Game 5. Essentially, we're talking about how the Vancouver Canucks have cracked McDavid, and that's such a weird way to say it, but of course it bears repeating when you acknowledge what the strategy actually was here. You see, the Canucks went 5 for 5 on their penalty killing yesterday, and that was a really big thing, because special teams, in a way, have been the story of the series this entire time. How the Vancouver Canucks have been giving up power play goals in every single game from games 1 to 4 to the Edmonton Oilers, and they're always the first one too. It's kind of weird. The first penalty of the game is always the first Oiler goal of the game. The Oilers just keep on cooking. They keep on cooking and they keep on cooking. And part of the reason, they talked about this in the broadcast yesterday too, part of the reason the Oilers' power play was so successful against Vancouver was because A, your first unit never leaves. I mean, that second unit with Evander, Kane and all that, yeah, they rarely get time. But secondly, when you have a power play of Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Evan Bouchard, Nugent-Hopkins, and Zach Hyman, the interesting thing about those power plays where they're always scoring is that the goals seem to happen usually in the second half or even the last quarter of the power play. And part of the reason for that, as they had talked about in the broadcast yesterday, was because when you're penalty killing, you try to stand your ground, you're moving around in the D zone, you're intercepting pucks, you're clearing it, but then you try to get your changes. And for the Canucks, they hadn't really been doing too good of a job at clearing the puck and just keeping Edmonton in their own zone to regroup for a while. As a result, you have multiple moments throughout the power plays where the Canucks' shorthanded unit is comprised of guys that hadn't really been able to get the full change. You've got units out there that are half and half of one unit and of the other units, and they get kind of scrambled around, and the Oilers have been wearing down this penalty kill so much to the point that at the end of the penalty kill, that's when the Oilers get the goal. A whole bunch of their goals had been scored towards the end of their power play opportunities. What did the Canucks do differently in Game 5 yesterday? Well, it was JT Miller who, in the postgame, went out there and pretty much said what we saw, but he verbalized it in a very nice way. He said essentially he wants to, give respect to Connor McDavid and those guys. But Miller pretty much said in yesterday's postgame presser that one of the changes they made was that they recognized that in the earlier games, they might have been giving Connor McDavid too much respect, in that they're stepping away so much, which gives him so much room to go out there and do what he does. Because yes, Connor McDavid is a fantastic player, you have to be on your toes when you're checking him. But if you're on your toes too much, if you don't attack him, if you don't try to knock the puck off of his stick once in a while, it just gives him more time with the puck. And when Connor McDavid gets more time, when he gets more space, that is when he is at his most effective. And so JT Miller and Penalty Killing Company, yesterday they said, yeah, we have to, be more aggressive on him. We're giving him too much respect. We're giving him too much time. And that is exactly what we had seen yesterday. If you review some of the footage of the power play penalty kill situations of the Oilers and the Canucks, Vancouver was aggressive as hell in their penalty kill structure, and it worked. When you don't give McDavid that space, it doesn't allow him to set up shop, and it doesn't allow the Oilers to get their power play gelling and rotating and doing the things that made them so effective in games 1 to 4. Now, you can say that Connor McDavid wasn't really all too great yesterday. A lot of Oilers fans I saw in the post-game threads and in the comments of Instagram posts and Twitter posts and everything else, like, Oilers fans were complaining as all hell that Connor McDavid didn't show up. And I feel like part of that is not really giving JT Miller and the rest of the Canucks penalty killing staff the credit that they're due. Miller has been line matched pretty much the entire series against Connor McDavid, and what? McDavid at 5v5 hasn't really been doing much. A lot of that has to do with the matchup. JT has been a defensive monster. And especially last night, I mean, the board battles, just the defensive back checking. I don't want to say that JT is going all Ryan Kessler on us, but, you know, it's hard to stray away from that comparison when the Miller-Kessler thing has been brought up for so many years now. There's a really strong two-way dynamic that has brought itself up in JT's game, which is kind of surprising because if you had told us this a year ago, that we would be having this conversation, yeah, JT Miller would be shutting down Connor McDavid in the 2024 playoffs in the second round as the Canucks have a 3-2 series lead heading into Game 6, which is going to be played in Edmonton. If you had told us that a year ago, we would have called you nuts. No way. No way is JT Miller going out there and leading the charge defensively against the Oilers in the second round, and the goalie is Arturs Silovs? Thatcher Demko and Casey DeSmith, they haven't played the whole series. It's been Silovs the entire time. Is that not indicative of the crazy story that we have seen out of Vancouver in this 23-24 Stanley Cup Playoffs? Like, you even take a look at the games that the Canucks lost in the Oilers series. The first one was in overtime, so that really could have gone either way. And the second one, it was a tie game before Evan Bouchard scored in the last few minutes. It's always Evan Bouchard, actually. Crazy how that works, but if it wasn't for Evan Bouchard, the Oilers wouldn't have their 2 wins. So, is it not kind of nuts how McDavid has been, in a way, neutralized by the Canucks and their system and their structure, and that's always the word that they use. If you listen to every single Brock Boeser interview this postseason run, he always says structure plays a part of it. And now, the structure has changed. They want to be a bit more aggressive on the penalty kill because they don't want to give McDavid too much respect that he's able to set up shop and do what he needs to do. Like, we had seen this earlier on, where the power play just keeps on cooking and they keep on rotating and they spend the 2 minutes entirely in the Canucks zone and it usually ends up in a goal. It ends up in Connor McDavid getting the puck and going down the middle and everybody going to him, which leaves Leon Draisaitl open on the side. McDavid to Draisaitl scores. Like, it's a repeat pattern. It's automatic in a way until the Canucks penalty killers start being more aggressive. And then it's like, okay, now Connor McDavid is getting shut down. And then you talk about the Oilers and their lack of a killer instinct coming to play here. They're not showing up. They're looking demotivated. They got outplayed for 40 minutes out of the 20 in that game yesterday, and the Canucks walk away with the victory. They walk away with a 3-2 series lead, and now they just have to win one more game to make the gosh darn third round. Crazy, bro. That's crazy. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. No graphics in this video, no nothing. I just wanted to talk about the Canucks and JT Miller because that guy's an absolute monster right now. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this entire Miller versus McDavid thing. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.